I have to assume, we're making big assumptions here, that these guys know what they're doing. That, in other words, they've sort of conditioned this out. They've talked to all of the lawyers that they have and that they've hired to figure out how to satisfy the regulatory, approval process. The key thing here is that this will be the first merger that to go under the new rules. The new rules date back to the turn of the century, which require this merger to enhance competition. If you listen, I know you guys were busy, to the presentation that just ended, they wrapped this up in the flag in a big way to appeal to the White House, and they kept talking about how it enhances competition. The old rules were that you just maintained existing levels of competition. The enhancing competition has never been defined. It makes it a little scary. How do you satisfy an undefined clause? They think they have the keys to the kingdom, and if they do, and they don't have to give away too much to achieve $2.75 billion in synergies and economies, it's a great deal. Everybody's always said in the rail industry, if they can do this, it will make sense. It will be good for railroads, their shareholders, and their customers. However, if they have to give away the store, as we've seen in previous merger attempts, and that the 2.75 gets whittled down because of what they give to each community for tree planting, and I'm exaggerating, but you get the point, then maybe it's not so great.
Our romance is frayed. Does this merger have anything to do with Paul's lousy train service in America? What does this do for passenger rail, where we're all begging, why can't we be like Germany or Switzerland?
Well, we could be if we shrunk our country to the size, by 2/3. One of the biggest, although of course those of you who take New Jersey Transit might argue that as well. But one of the things people have said is a concession that they might give to get this government. Remember, the regulator, the Surface Transportation Board, is an independent entity. But what is independence in this current administration isn't clear. And concessions that could be given could include concessions to Amtrak to make their service better. Over the Union Pacific portion, I've ridden long haul trains from New Orleans to LA, and they're always late, et cetera. They run once a day. So it kind of, it's great if you're a tourist. On the eastern side, where Norfolk Southern is, that's where we get into the Northeast corridor. And so there are things that Amtrak could actually get out of this. It'll be curious to see, they're a little rudderless right now at Amtrak, but they will be one of the many stakeholders who are going to come with a plate and, and a fork, and in their back pocket, a sharp knife. And everybody will be looking for something.
Tony, if I'm a shipper, don't I like this deal? Like, if I can drop off my container in the port of Los Angeles and I know it's going to get to the East Coast or the Midwest on one railroad, isn't that a good thing for me?
So the answer is two things. One, yes, I think the kind of shipper you just talked about, which is a shipper that's never really been involved in rail regulatory or rail merger issues, Walmart, Amazon, Maersk, Nike, Target, those kind of shippers have always gone to Washington with their big clout over other kinds of issues. That rails have been below their radar. This is obviously not below their radar, and they might very well be convinced this is in their very best interest to have seamless, no stopping at the border, being the Mississippi or Chicago. I think this new breed of shipper, as far as the rail regulatory process, could very well like this. In fact, should. However, it doesn't mean they also don't have knives, forks, and plates. Everybody knows when you have a rail merger, you open up the books and everybody wants a little piece of something. I'll write a letter in support, but give me a little access over here or some price relief over there. But in general, if these guys do what they say they're going to do, and I do believe from an intermodal perspective, you take 24 hours out of an interchange, not only is that faster, but more importantly, every time you touch, 90% on time, meeting 90% on time is 81%, right? So every time you remove that as a touch point, your reliability, and the key thing for railroads really isn't speed right now, maybe in the future, it's reliability. This should, if it goes well, enhance that.